So here's the last story I want to tell you. I was scheduled to speak for you 2 years ago, about 2 years ago today, when you were in New Orleans. And I was really excited about the presentation, and I flew to do the presentation. I got out at the airport in New Orleans, and I got a telephone call that was completely unexpected while I was picking up my bag. It was my brother, my older brother, Mike. And he said, Patrick, Mom's health took a sudden, unexpected downturn. She's going to die. I said, Mike, she just checked into the hospital yesterday, and you told me everything was fine. He said, everything was fine yesterday. And last night, her system just went through a complete collapse, one organ at a time. Doctors should say she might have 2 weeks to a month. But when you're done giving your keynote, why don't you come to Boston? I said, okay. I was raised just by my mom. She's my hero. Single mom. So I walked into the hotel in New Orleans, in Dusky, greeted me at the door, and the first question she asked me was, how are you? How was your flight? And I looked in her eyes, and she meant it. And when someone really means, how am I? I'm inclined to give an honest answer. And so I did. I said, yeah, I just found out that my mother is dying, but I'm okay. And the minute I said those words, I'm going to be honest with you, I felt I had made a mistake. Because I had just brought that up instead of keeping my mouth shut so as to not spread that concern into my professional situation. I was prepared to do the keynote. I'm a professional. I was looking forward to it. So I went up to my room. And 10 minutes later, Dusky called me down for a meeting in the lobby. And there was everybody. Bill Duncan, the entire team. Rick Colling, the guys I remember. And they asked me, do you want to do the keynote? And I said, of course I do. I said, truly, my mom might, the doctors estimate my mom's got 2 weeks a month, could be longer. I want to do the keynote. And there was a little bit of a pause, some silence, some listening, some feeling into the situation. And Bill Duncan spoke. And he said, we're sending you home, or we're sending you to your mother. And we bought you a ticket. And you're leaving in an hour. And Bill pulled me aside. And he said, my father died a year ago. And I learned something in these situations. You don't walk. You run. And you're in our family now. So we're sending you to where you're really supposed to be. And I said, well, that's going to leave an enormous gap in your schedule. And they said, we'll handle it. So there I was on a plane, and I landed in Boston. And before walking into the room where my mother was, my brother gave me the news. He said, our mother's not here anymore. So don't expect a conversation. I'm really glad you're here, and even though she probably doesn't know it, I'm sure she is too. So just be prepared when you walk in the room. So I walked in the room. My brother had told me that she'll babble the first couple sentences. It might sound like she's talking about something, and then you can tell it's complete coherence before she falls back to sleep under the heavy meds. So I walked in the room, and my mom sat up on the bed, and she goes, son! And then she started babbling. We thought it was babbling because she started talking about these visions she had of being walked around by these amazing people that loved her. And not to go too much into that, but what I really wanted to tell you is, it was my mom was completely coherent for the next 12 hours, like a miracle. And we sat on her bed, and we told stories from our lives together, and we shared laughter and tears and hand-holding and hugs. And then when my mom disappeared at about midnight, and she died 10 days later, and she never really was there again. So by sending me there that day, I got to experience a long goodbye with my mother. I got to be there for her truly last day on earth. I'm ending today on a quote by the guy my mom loved the most, who inspired my mom the most, Leo Buscaglia, because I thought it was perfectly relevant to what you guys did for me and my family, which I'm permanently and deeply am grateful for. And I'd ask you to read it with me on the count of 2. 1, 2. Too often, we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. The world at large needs your kindness so much right now. The people that step into your hotel room need your kindness so much right now. Your loved ones around you, they need your heart, and they need your kindness, and they need your caring more than ever before. Love is life. Life is love. If you want to do life, do love. All day long, everywhere you go. How do we do love? From here or here? Is fancy bread in the heart, or is it in the head? Shakespeare. It's in the heart, right here. So thank you so much for serving from the heart, and I challenge you to step further into serving from the heart every single day with guests, with visitors, and strangers, so that the world knows more hospitality. Thank you so much.